Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. A common refrain that I hear often is when LSU loses a game or something goes wrong, you hear Tiger fans say, for $100 million, that's not good enough. You hear that all the time. And I'm assuming a lot of people that are listening right now have said that in the past. I don't think that matters at all. I don't think LSU's coach's salary matters at all when it comes to results on the field. Now, let me lay this all out here, because I understand that money rules the college athletics world. You've got conferences that now have members on both coastlines purely because of money. You've got recruiting wars that come down now to public bid-offs. You've got facilities races, and you've got to have a lot of money, and there's a finite amount. So yes, in a sense, what the head coach makes, and sometimes what it takes to buy the head coach out, may be digging out of the piggy bank for something else. I understand that part of it. So I'm not completely dismissing money altogether. Not my point. However, here is my point. The standard at LSU in football is winning championships. You compete at the top of the SEC. You compete to get into whatever playoff exists that given year, whether it's the BCS, the 4-team, or the 12-team, and you're expected at times to get in there and make some waves. LSU has won 3 national championships in the last 21 years. They have competed in the Southeastern Conference Championship game more times than anybody outside of Alabama in what was the SEC West. Like, that is the standard. And I believe that is the standard if the head coach is on a 10-year, $100 million deal or a 4-year, $33 million deal. I don't think that gap of $67 million matters when it comes to the results on the field. I don't believe when LSU hires its football coach, the fan base should dig into the contractual terms and go, okay, they're paying him $6 million a year, so I think he should probably shoot for 8 or 9 wins. Conversely, they're paying him $100 million. He better win the national championship next year. The standard at LSU remains the standard at LSU. It has changed over the years. Case in point, Jerry DiNardo lost 4 games in 1995. LSU went to the Independence Bowl, and everybody threw a party. It was a huge deal and a huge success when LSU lost 4 games. Les Miles lost 5 games in 2008, and everybody thought it was an absolute disaster. And that had nothing to do with how much money Jerry DiNardo was making at that time and how much money Les Miles was making at that time. It was because the standard changed. Brian Kelly needs better results than this football season in 2024, not because his contract is a lot. It's because that's what he's expected at LSU. Let's shift it to another sport. Because you all know that Brian Kelly signed a $100 million deal. It's easy to remember. It was all right there. But let's go to 2 other sports. Jay Johnson's job at LSU is to consistently compete at the top of the SEC, host regionals more often than he doesn't, advance to Omaha, and compete for national championships. That is the expectation. Matt McMahon, his expectation here at LSU now is to be competitive in the SEC, make it to the NCAA tournament, probably more often than not, find a way to sneak into that second weekend a time or two, that Sweet 16, Elite 8. You do that, everybody's going to think you're doing a damn good job. Those are very different standards. LSU in baseball better be in the top 8 in Omaha. You get to the top 8 in basketball, oh my goodness, that's really good work. And I tell you right now, as a guy who watches every LSU basketball game, as a guy who loves LSU baseball as much as anybody in this town, I have no idea whose salary's higher, Jay Johnson's or Matt McMahon's. I have no idea. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Their salaries don't matter. There's an expectation based on past history, and it gets readjusted at times, but there's an expectation, and that is what you're competing against. It's not dollars per win. So to go back to my initial caveat, I understand if you pay the head coach more money, there is not as much to spend on other things. I'm not dismissing that completely. I'm just telling you, I don't care what the coach makes because I'm not writing the checks. I've never written a check with 2 commas, ever. And if there are boosters that are doing that consistently and they want to tell me that it hurts worse to write those checks and not get results than it would if the check was less, well, they can speak to that, and that's not really my corner of the store. That's a personal thing with their dollars and cents. But for Joe Fan, this is not about the money. This is about performance. And right now, in 2024, LSU's performance is not good enough. And that is not because Brian Kelly is making $10 million this year. That is because there is a standard at LSU where you don't go 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. That's not supposed to happen. And when it does, that's a failure because of the standard, not because of the size of the check. That's just the way that I see it. Now, we can talk about the future of LSU football if you want. Brian Kelly's track record suggests that he will turn it around. His track record also suggests that year 3 sees a bump, and we didn't see that. And we can talk about the amount of production that this team is going to lose because you saw, that offensive line completely overrated. They're not very good. Well, you saw Garrett Dellinger miss this game. Did you notice? Do you want to move Will Campbell and Emory Jones on as well? You think you might notice that? Because they're leaving. Josh Williams is leaving and Kyron Lacey's leaving.
Mason Taylor's
probably leaving. Braden Swenson's leaving. Savion Jones is leaving. Zy Alexander's your best cover corner. He's leaving. You're losing a lot. And it feels shaky beyond that on this roster right now. But the transfer portal exists. This signing class looks phenomenal on paper. And I believe they've got a good coaching staff. That's a subjective measure. But I believe they do. And if you want to suggest that the 2025 signing class that's finishing their senior years right now, that'll be on campus, some in the spring and then the others in the summer, that class and LSU's coaching staff provide a really good foundation for the program moving forward into 25, 26, 27, you can make that argument. If you want to look at this and say, well, they wasted a generational offense last year, they're going to lose 4, 5, 6 games this year, and then they're going to lose most of the best players off that team. The short term looks awful. I'm not going to argue with that either. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But that's the discussion I want to have. I want to have a discussion of how do things get better. Not, this coach is making all this money, this is not good enough for the money. And the last thing I'll say here, and Beck, I'll get you to chime in on this because I think I'm in the minority on this. But the last thing I'll say is, and this is something that's been repeated by everybody that covers the team, so it's not really breaking news or some sort of shedding light on an opinion no one has. Brian Kelly is going to be the coach here next year. And he's going to be the coach here the next year, too, because there is not a $60 million piggy bank that LSU is going to dip into while they're paying Ed Ogeron, while they're paying Matt House and all that whole staff, while they're paying the current roster, while they're paying the seniors in high school that are about to show up here, while they're going to have to go to the transfer portal and pay those guys. Like, that's where money does matter. The buyout's not tenable. But the expectation is not dependent on the compensation of the head coach. It is what it is at LSU, and that's why LSU sits here in this position, and it's despicable, and some other programs in the country would be thrilled at 8-4, and that has nothing to do with what they pay their coach either. So those are my 2 cents on the coach makes too much money to lose this many games.
Yeah, I don't think because it's like I think about the NBA and how a couple of years ago the salary cap got raised and you saw these guys who were 6th or 7th men on the team and they're getting paid 20 or 30 million and you're wondering yourself, why are these guys getting paid? It's just that's what the standard of what guys make, it just keeps going up. Head coaches in college football, the standard for guys like Brian Kelly, it just keeps rising. Their agents are too good, and how much money they're going to make from teams is just going to keep rising. And so if you have a coach of his caliber, you're going to have to pay him a good bit of money. You can't go out like, obviously, let's say, they hired Billy Napier. They could probably have gotten him for a little bit cheaper. But at the same thought of that, he's still going to be making a lot of money because he's the coach at LSU. So if you're the coach at LSU, you're going to make a lot of money. Like you said, the expectations are going to be high. But you're right. I agree with you in the sense that the money, it's going to be what the money is going to be. What the money is. LSU is going to pay their head coach a lot of money because it's LSU, and so trying to say that he makes this much money is the reason why he should get fired now or next year, or that if they're paying him this much money, he has to win. That doesn't have anything to do with it, in my opinion.
It's I think I laid out my case pretty well, and not to say that I'm right. I think I expressed how I feel adequately. There will be most people I think will disagree with me. Most people will say that when you command that kind of check, the results have to be better than this, and that you could use those funds elsewhere that you aren't paying to Brian Kelly. But again, my retort to that would simply be, I don't believe that anyone would think that the coach was doing an okay job at 8-4 if you cut his contract in half. I just don't. I don't think a coach that was making $5 million a year instead of 10 would be given a free pass for 8-4.
It doesn't make any sense to me why people are even mentioning it, because if Brian Kelly was making $5 million a year, you think the fans would be like, he's only making $5 million, so it's okay.
That's the point.
That's yeah.
In the same way, to go back to the actual root of it, no one, when they hire the coach, goes to the contract and then determines how the coach should perform. Well, okay, now that I see the terms, this is what's acceptable. That's just not how it works. So that's my thought there. There's a post in the Bayou Ford chat that I want to that I want to elaborate on. It's from Emil. It says most of those are addition by subtraction. When I was going through all the players that are leaving, most means more than half. And if you think more than half of the names I just rattled off are addition by subtraction, I don't know what you were watching at left guard on Saturday night, and I don't know what you've been watching for the last couple. If you think that losing Will Campbell and Emory Jones makes you better, if you think that losing Mason Taylor makes you better, if you think that losing Zy Alexander makes you better, I don't know how to reason with you on that. I just don't think it does. And I think that most of the guys who have played the best on this team, and look, nobody's been fantastic over the last 3 games, but most of the guys that have played the best on this team are moving on. And that's kind of a chilling thought. You need some of these younger players that are in the program to step forward. And we'll see if that happens or not. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.